There were a couple times where I would meet him at a park to see her, and he would spend most of the time trying to talk to me and, and not be spending the time with her.
What drugs does he use?
Anything. I have caught him buying crack.
My client admits that he used alcohol and marijuana alongside mom. He rarely used if she wasn't. They used together.
Will you state your name, please?
Jessica Jude Rux.
And Ms. Rux, who is Jared Alexander Nelson?
Her biological father.
And who is he the biological father of?
Dorian Nelson.
And how old is Storyanne?
She's currently 7.
At the time that she was born, were you married to anyone?
No, ma'am.
And have you named anyone else to be the father of Storyanne?
No, ma'am.
At the time that Storyanne was born, did you and Mr. Nelson sign an acknowledgement of paternity?
Yes, he signed one at the hospital.
And you signed that document as well?
Yes, ma'am.
And Your Honor, at this time, I'd offer State's Exhibit A, which is attached to the pleadings filed by the Office of the Attorney General on August 14th of 2024.
Okay, ma'am, do you have any objection to me admitting this into evidence?
No.
Okay, I'll admit this as State's Exhibit A, but I do not have an actual copy to do anything with.
Okay. And Your Honor, it is attached to our pleading that was filed.
Yes. And I do take judicial notice of the copy attached to your pleading.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. And Ms. Rux, who does Storyanne live with?
She lives with me.
And who makes the day-to-day decisions for Storyanne?
I do.
What involvement does Mr. Nelson have with the day-to-day decisions for Storyanne?
None, and he never has had any.
Are you asking the court today to appoint you as the sole managing conservator for your daughter?
Yes.
And why is that?
He hasn't even been involved in her life, and it's been almost 4 years since he's had contact with her. But from the very beginning, I mean, he's never been to any doctor's appointments. He's never been on any doctor's paperwork. He's never been involved in any of her school activities or been on her school paperwork. He's never been involved really in any capacity.
Has there been any family violence between you and Mr. Nelson in the last 2 years?
No, we haven't had any contact with him really in the last almost 4 years.
And did you and Mr. Nelson ever live together?
Before she was born, yes. Since she was born, he's stayed with me maybe like 1 week at a time while we tried to reconcile. Other than that, he's never lived with me. I've had my own apartment. Everything's been in my name. He's, never lived with us for any stretch of time.
You mentioned that there was a bit of time that he lived with you for a week or two. When was that?
When she was about 3 months old.
And have you ever had to call the police on Mr. Nelson?
Yes. Before she was born. Unfortunately, growing up in a domestic violence situation when I was younger, you were kind of trained to not call the police. But I did, in my paperwork, I did submit the police report.
When was that police report from?
I believe it was in 2016.
And do you know if any charges were filed as a result of the police report?
Yes, assault by contact.
And do you know what happened with that case?
I have no idea.
Who was the victim in the case?
I was. I know he was taken into custody that night. I just don't know what followed it.
Have you ever had to request a protective order against Mr. Nelson?
I've filed some incident reports, but they said that unless he, for like harassment and he was stalking me and having people drive by my apartment and throw things at my windows, and I had like noticed my screens being tampered with, like he was trying to get into my apartment. Um, and that was in Alvin, Texas. But they wouldn't file any charges unless he physically harmed me.
And what time period was that?
Uh, Multiple times between uh her birth of June 2017 up until June 2019.
If the court was to order a geographical restriction to Galveston County and the surrounding counties as far as where your daughter lives, would you have an issue with that?
I would not.
God bless you. What
Thank you.
type of visitation do you think he should have with Story Lee?
Well, she doesn't like, she knows who he is and she's seen pictures, but she hasn't spent any like length of time with him most of her life. So she doesn't know him. Um, and I would prefer, none. I've given him, in the past, I've given him the option of trying to establish a relationship with her and have asked him, like, just let's start building that trust and building that relationship. Please call it, like, on a certain day each week at a specific time, and build some consistency and show that you are really interested in having a relationship with her. And just because she needs consistency in her life, she needs, to know him before just going with him, and he has refused and never followed through with any options that I've given him to try to build a relationship with her. Um, so I mean, worst case scenario, if she did have to have visitation, I would rather it be some sort of supervised visitation where I can ensure her safety and ensure the safety of the environment she's in.
And when was the last time he visited with Story Ann?
Oh gosh, she was maybe 3 years old. And anytime that he did see her, it was me with the preemptive of, like, he would be at his older son's baseball games, and I would bring her. There were a couple times where I would meet him at a park to see her, and he would spend most of the time trying to talk to me and not be spending the time with her.
What was the longest amount of time he's spent with her?
Um, when she was younger, if she was over at her paternal grandfather's house, maybe a couple hours. If I was bringing her to try to, get him to visit her, maybe an hour. But like I said, he showed more interest in spending time with me than spending time with her.
If the court is to order visitation, you mentioned a supervised visitation. What safety concerns do you have for your daughter?
I would be worried about who he has her around, as he has been violent and abusive in relationships. I would be worried about her witnessing that. He is, a known drug user and alcoholic. So I would be worried about her being exposed to that, or God forbid, be in a car with him while he's drinking and something happen. So I mean, I would be worried overall about her safety and what she's exposed to.
And how do you know that he uses drugs?
He used drugs our entire relationship, and we were together for almost 3 years before we had her. And even after we had her, um, he continued with his drug use and his alcohol abuse, and that's that is pretty much what ended our relationship and made it to where at 6 months pregnant, I got my own apartment and moved out on my own to get away from that for her.
What drugs does he use?
Anything. He's used pills. abused methadone and Suboxone. I've known him to do meth. I have caught him buying crack.
Do you know if he's currently working?
I am unsure, but I've not ever known him to hold down a job in the entirety of knowing him.
Does he have any mental or physical disability that would prevent him from working?
No, ma'am.
Do you know of any reason why he could not work a minimum wage job full time?
No, ma'am.
You mentioned he has a son. Does he have any other children besides your daughter and his son?
Not that I know of.
How old is his son?
I believe he's around like 13 or 14 now.
And do you know if he's court ordered to pay child support for that child?
He is.
How is your daughter covered for health insurance and dental insurance?
She's on Medicaid.
Do you have do you have access to private health insurance for her?
No, ma'am.
Do you know if he does?
I do not believe so.
Are you asking for any back child support?
Might as well.
And are you asking for that to be from the time that she was born to now?
Yes.
In the last 7 years, has he provided you with any support for your daughter?
No, ma'am.
Has he bought anything for her?
He has never bought her a birthday gift or shown up to any of her birthday parties other than her very first birthday, which he also did not bring a gift. And he's gotten her a Christmas present 1 year.
And in the last 7 years, do you know of any time period that he was in jail or incarcerated?
I'm unsure.
Okay. Do you have any concerns about him having your address or phone number?
Absolutely.
And what concerns are those?
He's been known to show, like, when I was working, he has shown up to my work and caused a scene at my work and like actually pulled me out from behind the bar and put his hands on me in front of customers. He has been known to repeatedly call me back to back to back to back to back and harass me. He has been known to verbally abuse me over the phone. And and wanted to talk about things not concerning our child. I just rather not put me or her in that situation.
And when did he show up at your work?
Multiple times between 2016 and 2017.
And you testified that he had called numerous times back to back to back. When was that?
Yes. Probably sometime in 2017. In the list of witnesses that I gave the Attorney General when I filled out my paperwork, my old boss is actually on that list. That she had witnessed it repeatedly and even answered the phone and said, like, this is a place of business, she's working, please don't call. And he would cuss her out and be ugly to her and threaten her and stuff as well. So she is on my witness list.
Does he have a way to contact you right now?
He has my current partner's number. Due to when he would call usually late, like at midnight or between 10 o'clock and midnight on weeknights, asking to talk to Storianne. Obviously, any child that age is going to be in bed getting ready, for school the next morning. When I wouldn't let him speak to her at that time of night because she's sleeping, he would then proceed to try to argue with me and fight with me and get verbally abusive with me. So my partner, you know, had witnessed it and stepped in and said like, okay, like this isn't okay. Like, you know, here's my number. If you need to get in touch, you know, with her, you can call my number. So he's had my partner's number for access for the last over 3 years.
And when was the last time he called to talk to your daughter?
Uh, Probably between I would say like 3 and 3.5 years, maybe almost 4.
And um, going back to the supervised visitation, do you think it should be supervised by yourself or by a program?
No, definitely by a program.
And why is that?
Uh, uh, Due to him being verbally and physically abusive to me, I don't see that changing, and I don't want to put myself or my daughter through that. Like, I don't want her to witness that, and I don't want to put myself through that either.
Pass the witness, Your Honor.
Okay. Do you have any other witnesses?
No, Your Honor, the state does not.
Would you like to make a closing?
Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, the state would ask that conservatorship be ordered. I believe Ms. Rux is asking for a sole managing conservator with a supervised visitation, with possibly using the SAFE program in Pasadena. The state is asking for child support to be set at minimum wage, giving Mr. Nelson credit for one other child, with child support of $197 a month starting December 1st of 2024. Ms. Rux being ordered to apply for government assistance for the child, and Mr. Nelson being ordered to pay cash medical support of $30 a month, also to begin December 1st of 2024. The state is also asking for retroactive child support from the child's date of birth in 2017 to now, and basing that of 89 months based off of minimum wage child support of $202. That would be $17,978. The state would ask that that be paid back at $150 a month, starting December 1st of 2024. And also we'd be asking that there would be a non-disclosure finding for Ms. Rux and the child.
And I might have missed it. Was there testimony? Because that's more than 4 years. Unless it was filed a really long time ago. Was there testimony that she'd previously tried to establish child support?
No, Your Honor, she did testify that the parties separated before the child was born and that he did sign an acknowledgement of paternity.
Do you believe that matches the requirements of the family to get support more than 4 years?
And Your Honor, I would believe that we have rebutted the presumption that he knew that the child existed, and then the other requirement is sought to avoid the establishment of a support order obligation for the child. And Your Honor, the evidence towards that is that she testified that he's stopped having any contact with the child approximately 3 years ago, and hasn't participated at all with the child. Your Honor, if the court goes back to only 48 months, then that would be $9,696, which would be
9,696.
9,696, which is 48 months times 202. And we would ask in that situation that he would be ordered to pay that back at $125 a month starting December 1st.
Okay, I'm going to find that Mr. Nelson is in default. and order that Ms. Rux is the managing conservator and that Mr. Nelson is the possessory conservator. I'm not ordering a residency restriction. I am ordering that Mr. Nelson has supervised visitation with the SAFE program out of Pasadena. I'm ordering that he pay any and all costs associated with exercising those visits, and they're both ordered to contact the SAFE program. I believe you have language that you typically use.
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
Great. And I am ordering that Mr. Nelson pay to Ms. Rux child support of $197 per month beginning December 1st of 2024. I'm ordering that Ms. Rux apply for or continue with a government or medical assistance program, and that Mr. Nelson pay to Ms. Rux cash medical support of $30 per month beginning December 1st of 2024. For retroactive support, I do not believe you've met the burden of showing that he sought to avoid the establishment of a support order. And so I am ordering back child support for a period of 48 months. And so I'm ordering a back child support judgment against Mr. Nelson in the amount of $9,696 as of today. And I am ordering that Mr. Nelson pay that back at a rate of $125 a month beginning December 1st of 2024 with a step up of $197 plus $125 once the child emancipates. And I am granting the non-disclosure request for Ms. Rux. And ma'am, the state's.
Oh, Your Honor, I was just going to ask about the supervised visitation. When should both parties be ordered to register by?
Due December 6th.
Okay.
May I ask a question?
You can, ma'am. I'm not sure I can answer it, but you may ask the question.
What happens if I register and he does not, or if he does not show up for his visitations?
You'll have to talk to the program because they all work a little different, but most of them have some kind of requirements where if people miss so many, they get kicked out. If he never registers, they'll let you know that too at some point.
Okay.
And the program might have a fee that you have to pay. Some of them have fees that everyone has to pay no matter what I order. It just varies from program to program.
Okay.
And so you are free to go, ma'am. Actually, I'm sorry. They're probably going to move you back to a breakout room to draft the order.
Okay.
Stop the recording.